Good morning. Welcome to the November 1st. We're down to November here, so only 13 months and counting. So, but who's counting? So, anyways, we got a lot of great things happening. I hope everyone had a great Halloween last night. I will say I did happen to see one of the members of the media that's in here today last night with his children out getting goodies. So we made sure to give them plenty of candy bars. Hopefully didn't keep them up too late or rot out their teeth very much over in the Morrison household last night.
Well, I think she double dipped. I think she did.
Hey. Listen, the good news was for us, I think we had like 4 pieces of candy out of a big old tub that had over 1,000 pieces in it. I think we only had 4 at the end of the night, so that's a success for me. I don't want to have very much candy that I end up eating. That's the bad part. So it was a good night last night. We enjoyed seeing the Morrison family over on Baston last night. It was a good night. It was a great evening to have lots of kids out, and hopefully everything was safe from what I heard from Chief and everything else, so that was good. Did want to say a couple of things that happened last week. There were 2 events. One was a virtual and one was an in-person meeting where we looked at the Bruce Beach, where when we came back with the plans midway, and there were a lot of comments. I thought the team that is designing that did an excellent job of really incorporating that. We have a lot of different competing things that are looking for that space, so it's hard for any one person to get exactly what they wanted. But overall, both the in-person visit, and I was there, and I appreciate David being there with his team, the in-person as well as the online virtual meeting. I thought they did a great job at trying to balance everything they could to give everybody. They really took the comments and tried to make it better, and I thought they did make it significantly better in what was presented. It's still obviously in trying to get that many different competing needs. It wasn't everybody got everything they wanted, but I think they did a great job of making sure that everybody got most of what they wanted, and I thought it was a much better plan. There were several PPD trunk or treats. I happened to go to the one at Gonzales Court in Pensacola Village. There was also one at Addicts Court. It was great time with the kids there. I know Casey was there, got some pictures, played a little football. I saw Lawrence Powell there, so we had a good time at some of those places with the police. Again, looking to create positive interactions between our police and the community, and I think it was a great opportunity for our officers to be out there and participating in active events with the children in a very productive way. So I thought it was very good. And I talked to several residents both in Gonzales Court and the Pensacola Village. And by the way, Councilwoman Broughton was at the Pensacola Village, and she introduced me to several of the people there, and we talked about some things. So I thought it was a good opportunity for us to get out and engage with the public and address some of the concerns that they had. So it was really good, I thought. One I talked about with on a morning show I was on this morning on radio with the ST Engineering announcement that the Mayor's Scholarship has been expanded from 4 to 8 students this year. So that is $20,000 split up between 8 students, everybody $2,500 each. But 8 students will be selected in the area to continue their education in pursuit of aviation. And so, those applications will be able to go through ST Engineering, but I think it just shows another commitment of where they are and making sure that our citizens have opportunity in front of them, and not only just the opportunity of the actual job, but the opportunity to actually learn and then obtain a skill that they can apply in multiple different ways. While we certainly would love to see them here with ST, but there are also other things they can do with it. We'd love to see eventually more of those skills when we get them, be able to bring more economic opportunity to the Pensacola area. Then finally, in a sort of more somber but certainly a very happy way it went, NAS Building 633, which is the training office. This is the one that the building that had the shooting on December 6th of 2019 reopened on the 29th in a great ceremony. First time I'd been there since the terrorist attack in December of 2019. It was a great ceremony to be a part of. It was just good to see the base and the officers there in overcoming the tragedy that happened. Several of the families of the victims were there. There were very nice tributes inside that became part of the new building and the redesign. And I thought they really did a great job of recognizing those who both had fallen and those who were injured in that. And it was really great to see, and it was just great to be there, especially having been there on December 6th of 2019. It was very heartfelt to be there and see it come through. So those are some of the things that happened last week. I do want to say one of the other things that happened, Amy Toodle has been selected as a new Public Works and Facilities Director. She, I believe, is starting. Her first day will be Monday the 15th, so 2 more weeks. I see David nodding back there. I'm sure he can't get her here fast enough. She'll be joining us from Santa Rosa County. Again, she will be, her operations, she'll oversight all operations of public works and facilities, including maintaining city infrastructure such as facilities, streets, sidewalks, stormwater systems, and more. So we're very happy to have Amy joining us from Santa Rosa County. Before that, she had a background with Fdot, which I think is going to be very helpful for us as we continue in building better working relationships between our engineering staff and Fdot. I think that's going to go a long way. Residents are encouraged to participate in Mobility Week. I know last week that Leah, Casey, and I went to ECAT. I had a picture there in Mobility Week, Fdot's annual Mobility Week, a celebration making smart and efficient, safe multimodal transportation choices. This year, Mobility Week will go through the October 29th, which is the day we did it, through November 5th, with a variety of ways to participate. You can join the Love to Ride Challenge for a month-long cycling competition, complete Florida Bicycle Association safety quizzes, or simply try a new way to get around town during Mobility Week. We highly encourage you. I sometimes use my feet as much as I can when I'm downtown. We certainly encourage you to do that as well. You can ride a bike, you could ride ECAT. We certainly think there are lots of other ways besides just driving in your car. So we hope you will learn more in ways that you can participate and celebrate in Mobility Week at cityofpensacola.com. Traffic signals, government in Balin and government in Spring. We've received inquiries about the 2 signals. I know I've been one of the ones that would love to see those change, and they will be changing here shortly. The city has conducted a traffic study for both intersections. It was determined that neither intersection warranted traffic signals, though those signals have existed for decades. With the recent results, the city plans to remove the traffic signals and install 4-way stop conditions, improve signage and pavement markings to make intersections safer for our bike and pedestrian traffic. A detailed project schedule is yet to be determined, but the intent is for construction to commence in the next 2 to 3 months. More details will be provided. There is another 4-way stop that will be shortly coming up at 9th and Romana. This is the growth we've been seeing of pedestrian, especially to get over to the park over there and connect the downtown Seville area to the park, the Veterans Park across the way. We conducted a traffic study on 9th Avenue to understand the current traffic volumes as well as the current and future pedestrian volumes, and planned accordingly. Based off the slight visibility concerns on Romana movements, the study warrants the inclusion of a 4-way stop at the intersection in order to safely move vehicular traffic through the intersection. The new 4-way stop conditions will enhance the existing signage and pavement markings for safety and visibility purposes. It is also recommended that the installation of the new pedestrian crossing on the east side of Romana, in which the city completed its installation last month. The city intends to install the 4-way stops. It says the next 2 to 3 months, but I thought we were going to do 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm looking for confirmation.
We'll already setbacks will be done in the next couple of months.
Okay, all right. So we sometime, hopefully around Christmas, we'll have this in. I would love to see it as soon as possible. So that's certainly my goal. Gulf Power will begin night work in downtown Pensacola on their reliability project. I guess they are be doing more grid modernization project downtown to improve reliability, and they've shifted to nighttime work as of yesterday. The work is expected to continue through November. Crews will work Sunday through Thursday nights from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. on South Palafox Street between Garden and Government Streets. For more information, visit gulfpower.com. And we just had the final mayor's cleanup. That we had collected over 52 tons of debris. This includes also includes 611 gallons of paint and 69 tires. The cleanup took place on Saturday in a portion of Scenic Heights neighborhood and the east side of Spanish Trail. This is the last cleanup of the year. Please stay tuned to cityofpensacola.com for next year's cleanup schedule, which will be out soon, and will begin again in January. So we certainly appreciate those, all of what sanitation does. Seeing Amy in the back, appreciate John Pittman and his team and all that they do. A great job getting stuff picked up. COVID-19 numbers, again, we continue to see a positivity rate that is at 4.9%. We're under 5%, which is good. We were under 5 last at 4.9 as well. Hospitalizations were, as of Friday, at 42. We have yet to get, by the time we started, we were still trying to work to get, and I don't guess they've come from Baptist hospitals. So, but I will say, from what we saw from Sacred and from West Florida, I expect us to be under 40 hospitalizations. We're at 42 on Friday. I have talked with all the hospitals. One of the things they communicated with us is that, you know, the resources they expend in doing a lot of tracking, they would like to reassign other places. And once we get to a point where we felt like we were below a certain number, they've asked. And so I've told them that this Monday would be the last time I would request that they have to do that for the city, with the condition, the caveat that obviously if we see something go up and we see an increase and we get over 50, that we would pick back up and get those numbers that we could display to the public. So that's where we stand with the hospitals on that, and we will continue to go forward. But at this time, we won't be reporting hospitalizations unless they come back over 50 and get together with the hospitals. I will say the discussions I've had with the hospitals have been good, in the sense that we are now doing much more planning. Like I said before, I think we're getting a better idea as to how to handle COVID and how to address it going forward if we were to have another spike. And we are seeing much better understanding and sort of what we're working through, both the Department of Health, 3 hospitals, and the Escambia County emergency operations, which includes the City of Pensacola. So again, we continue to work through those things and meet and now plan a little bit more as to what happens. So I feel better about where we are in our understanding as we go forward, and we'll continue to work as we can on that. But at this time, we will not be reporting hospitalizations after today unless we see numbers go back up over 50. That was the request of the hospitals and my discussions with them last week. So again, we'll see what we can do. But at this time, we were at 42, and I think when we get Baptist in, we're going to find ourselves, based on what happened with Sacred and West Florida, that I think we'll be under 40 hospitalizations for this past weekend. Lastly, I know there was some discussion at length. We talked last week about it, and I know the discussion happened Thursday night with the council related to the discussion as to what's going to happen related to where we are with Gulf Power and that renewal franchise. It will actually, I guess, ultimately be with Florida Power and Light, as Gulf Power probably has a very short existence, that they will continue to exist before changing over to FP&L. But in that, I think much of the challenge that we've gotten into, and I know several people have talked to me about it, and I think part of the issue is what the council will not be the one negotiating. That's the mayor's office, but it is difficult to negotiate from the mayor's office if we don't know what everybody wants. And I think that came out in last Thursday more than anything. I think that's why the workshop needs to happen in so many ways. I think it's a good thing. I think there are a lot of things at play that are trying to work in many different areas. Certainly there's renewable, but I mean, I think as we showed you last week and talked with you, the city is doing several projects right now with renewability, with renewables, and what we can do to limit our greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, you probably heard the discussions at length from Mark up here, that if we wanted to go 100%, we could do it tomorrow with Gulf Power. We could make that happen. I don't think that's ultimately in some of the things what everybody is looking for. But I think this balance between trying to get more of an industrial power scale as well as the mom or top, sort of providers of solar energy. And as we look at those things, we're trying to balance those things. I've said for a long time, it's going to take probably both. If you're really serious about renewables, you're probably going to have to look at both sides. But that's one of the aspects. The other aspect is reliability. We continue to discuss that and the need for us to be looking at more undergrounding. We would very much like that. We had those discussions with Gulf Power, and I look forward to talking. And then finally, there's just the issue of price and how do we make all that happen. I can tell you, I laugh when I see all these things talking about, and again, I thought it was funny when a couple of weeks ago everybody said, well, somehow we're rushing to a decision. We've been at this 3 years and we hadn't gotten anywhere yet. And part of it is some of the discussions we have, and it certainly continues to be around price. That's always one of the issues. There's no doubt, and I love the team we have here. They do an incredible job at the city. But one of my biggest concerns in this thing is that, one of the places we stalled at the most in this conversation was about price percentage. We get 6%, it's in our budget, we have it. And again, from my standpoint, that's good, we already budgeted. There was some question of whether we should be able to go to 7 or higher. The only thing that's my concern in all that, and I very much appreciate where the team is, but my biggest concern is, where does that money come from? It's not like Gulf Power or Florida Power and Light is going to pay us something extra from somewhere else. They're actually just going to go get that from our own providers. I have a real concern in making sure if in the challenges that we're dealing with affordability and housing, for us to simply go make power more expensive is counterproductive for what we're trying to achieve, especially at our housing level and trying to make housing more affordable in the areas that we infill, so we have to take up less, consume less energy, take up less green space, and a variety of other things. So all of these things balance. There's no easy, perfect answer. As we go along, we'll continue to look at all these things and try to evaluate what we can do. I will tell you, one of the things that also did come out of this after the Thursday meeting, I did get a letter from Doug Broxton, which I'm more than happy, I don't know if Casey has these for everybody, but we're more than happy to get it to you. It says, Dear Mayor Robinson, I understand the City of Pensacola is considering a study of operating a municipal electric utility, and we'll further discuss the issue in January in a workshop. I would like to recommend available state assets like the Office of Public Counsel to provide financial and service-related analysis of utility operations for the city. The OPC can give a presentation on the creation and status of municipal-owned utilities in comparative-sized cities across the state of Florida. So again, I will be more than happy to reach out to the state if they have this information about other cities in the state of Florida. We certainly will be reaching out and look to get that information. I do appreciate Senator Broxton writing to make that offer available to the City of Pensacola, and we certainly will be there. But I think the workshop is a good place for us to go. And again, I want to be real clear. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not necessarily my thing that we got to solve. We've done it for 12 years almost without anything just going month to month. I have no problem going another 13 months with month to month. But I do understand probably if we just in taking a thought of talking to different council members, I'm sure on that issue, there are some council members that would like to get it resolved now. So, those are things that will come up and we'll be happy to discuss in January, and we'll see where we go from there. But there's a lot of, I think the bigger challenge is, what do we want to achieve? What are we hoping to get out of this? And I think there's a lot of different things. There are probably 7 different thoughts if the council comes together, because that's just the way it is. And if you looked at that, there's probably thousands of different variations of that, just because each citizen is going to have their own ideas. So again, I think as we workshop, the thing I want us to look at is, what are we hoping to achieve? Really more in those lines of dealing with renewables, dealing with reliability, and dealing with price. As I said before, I think at least from a renewable standpoint, I would have to say FP&L is a long way, light years ahead of where we were when we were with the Southern Company, where we still operated coal and had little, if any, solar renewables. I will say, probably though, I will say as sort of the idea generator behind the best, as Stan Connolly used to call it, the best renewables in the Southern Company was the waste to energy out of the landfill, which I championed as an early board member out there, and it probably was one of the more successful. But that was about all we saw from when it was Southern Company. I will say Florida Power and Light has put considerable more resources and energy into creating other renewables. So I think it's there. I think the question becomes, how do we do it and make it workable? But I have real concern. While I think decentralized and some of the other providers is certainly good to have, and I've argued up here from this dais that it will take both, not only industrial groups like an FP&L, but it'll also take some of those smaller companies as well. I don't think we're going to get there all by ourselves with smaller companies. I don't see panels going up on poor people's houses. And I think if you're going to truly figure out how to bring everybody into a renewables, you're going to need something like an industrial size position to make that happen. Because I just don't think if you're, and I wouldn't blame anybody, the mom and pops. I mean, it's not their job to subsidize that. That's not the point. And I wouldn't expect them to have to do it. But the idea is that we as government have to think about those things and how do we get that on everybody's house and how do we get everybody dealing with renewables. So I think that's why it's going to take a balance, and I think that's why I hope that discussion we have in January has a lot of discussion toward that end. So I will open it up to questions and be more than happy to answer your questions. Go ahead.
It's been stated that Gulf Power will cut off all its gifts to local charities if the city moves forward with this feasibility study. Is this true, and is this part of the reason why it was pushed back again?
Again, one, I think that would be crazy if Gulf Power wishes to make this decision. They can be welcome to do that any time. I think their position on being a community partner, I'd hope they'd be a community partner whether or not based on whatever decision of the city. I mean, Escambia County is a pretty big place. The city's a fairly small provider within that, so I don't know anything on that. As far as what happened with the decision, you'd have to talk to the 7 council members, but I think it's very, very clear from my perspective. I don't think any of them know what they want totally. I think that's a real issue at the crux of all of this is everybody wants a little bit of something, but there are generally 3 fairly significant areas that we need to have discussions about. One is about renewables, one is about reliability, and one of them is about price. And I think to be fair, you need to be discussing all those things, not just one of them, because I think it's that's the biggest challenge in this. Is a lot of people look at it from a one-dimensional. It's not one-dimensional. It's truly 3-dimensional, and that makes it a lot more difficult to be shooting for where your target is. John?
Mayor, at last week's Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, the representative from Habitat said that they were basically at a standstill of building affordable housing for their clients because there's a surplus of stock that the city and the county government are not making available. What do you agree with that?
You're talking about the surplus of stock. You're talking about surplus of land. Yeah, okay. Because we don't have any housing. I mean, we had housing. Right. We wouldn't even need Habitat. So I was a little confused by the question. Yeah, I think there is a lot of land that could come forward and needs to come forward. I think, I find it odd. I was on an email today, on a Facebook exchange today with somebody who I respect, but I thought they were way off basis. They were complaining about things that had happened with infill development, and they were lamenting how green space in the county was coming down because of development. And I wrote the person and said, "This is the craziest thing." I mean, infill is what prevents stuff from happening. Is your laugh? I don't know if that was picked up. I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's what infill prevents us from having to go out and green space stuff. So we do need to do infill. And I know it's a little bit challenging. People who have had areas where there have been these vacant pieces of property have gotten somewhat used to that, and the concern is, well, now you're building a house next to me. At the end of the day, that's where we are at the city. I mean, you talk about some of the pictures. If you go back and look at some of those pictures, the early 1900s, the downtown area, the East Hill area, the North Hill area were considerably more dense. We've had a lot of homes that have escheated, and the property and the homes have been torn down, and we have vacant lots. I mean, yeah, those lots may be nice. People may not like having people further away, but at the end of the day, they probably need to be redeveloped and get back into better use. And I think some of the things that could happen if we did it right, it's one of our strategies that we're looking at with the housing areas. I mean, it's one of the things we've been talking about, and I see our team back there. I know they're working with the county right now and trying to figure out how we can get some of these escheated lots back into development. So we would agree with the assessment. You know, I think the challenge is, John, is always in the details. I don't think there's a total agreement in the details, but big picture, I think there's absolutely an agreement that we need to find a way to redevelop those lots and get those back into. And the more we open up those lots, I mean, there's so much better when you have those lots opened up and people infill. You've already got infrastructure there. You don't have to run out new infrastructure. You've already got, it just increases your ability to do bike ped as full and other multimodal. It just increases the ability to do that. So, I mean, those are, I think it's a win-win-win all the way around when we do infill development. And so I don't, some of this stuff, I know there's a little pushback out there in the community, but I don't think it's people that are thinking long-term strategically or the overall community. Because if you don't have infill, then you're just going to keep knocking trees out in the country. You're just going to keep knocking them down and building up new stuff. And we're just going to keep sprawling, and we're going to keep creating bigger problems for us from traffic and a variety of other things. We really do need to infill, and that's what we've been trying to do at the city.
So what you're saying is the city, it has a goal of increasing this property stock of available property?
Absolutely, absolutely. We would love to. I would say the devil's in the details right now. I think conceptually everybody agrees in the big picture. I think the problem is deciding how that gets done and how, you know, who does what in figuring out, you know, to make it as low impact as we can on the community. I mean, there'll be new houses, there'll be no construction. Those create challenges, but we definitely want to find ways that we can minimize those impacts to the neighborhoods. Jeremy, no questions? So that's my treat today. I it was going to happen. So I guess all that candy. We didn't get any questions. That's good. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.